How to build a Blackgates Sweet Pea 5-inch gauge locomotive. Part 36. Making the operating linkage support plates for the cylinder drains using a different method. This time the job was successful. Starting work on the missing motion bracket. In the previous attempt I used a steel rule to get the measurements and I made a complete mess of it. In exactly the same way as previously shown, I've made two more plates. They're both identical in size because I used the milling machine. And here something weird is happening. What I'm using here is some marking out fluid, and it appears to not want to stick to the metal, which is a new one on me. The metal isn't greasy, quite the reverse, it's been cleaned up on the belt sander. The second attempt was better, but as it started to dry, it thinned out. Very odd. I'm sure that someone out there will comment and tell me what the problem is. This is the first time I've ever seen this happen. Once I finally got a reasonable coating of marking out blue on the two plates, I decided to hold them in position using spring clamps like this and mark the hole positions through the holes in the chassis. I used this piece of mahogany planking to make sure that the plates both align perfectly with the bottom edge of the chassis. Not exactly precision engineering, but the end result will be much better doing it this way than previously shown in the last episode. These two spring clamps are strong enough to hold the piece of plate in place while I scribe through the holes in the chassis. But just to be on the safe side, I also held the parts manually. The normal way of drilling holes through frames is to drill them as pairs, so the holes should be exactly the same in the other side. And that's good because I don't have to turn the chassis round. I'm marking out once again the second plate through the holes at this side. I really do think that the holes are in the same position at each side anyway. With both of the plates firmly clamped in the machine vise on the drilling machine, I drilled holes through both of them in one go. I didn't show the drilling part of the process because I showed plenty of that in the previous episode. I removed the plates from the drilling machine and I'm going to drill a 3/16 of an inch diameter hole which will support the drain cock linkage rod. To avoid any errors, I bolted the two plates together before drilling the 3/16 of an inch diameter hole. Because this really does need to be in exactly the same place at both sides. After separating the plates, I deburred them and removed any writing on them on the belt sander. Then I wrote the word "in" on the inside of each plate with an arrow pointed to the front. In this clip I'm showing the remounting of the cylinders using temporary bolts. When I mount them for real I will be using Allen caphead bolts, but two of these M6 hexagon bolts will be fine for now. Even though I drilled the holes for the operating shaft 3/16 of an inch in diameter, they were a bit tight. But by using a 3/16 of an inch diameter reamer, not only did the inside diameter of the holes get a better finish, the rod fitted perfectly. This is a long piece of stainless steel. After this I cut it down a bit on my bandsaw, but still left it slightly longer than I need it. This is good, both of the plates are fine, and now to answer an obvious question, why are they so big? If you have a derailment, the first casualties are normally the drain cocks, particularly on standard gauge engines where there's nothing to prevent the chassis from going below the level of the rails. I could fit a protective crossbar, but I don't need to do it with this design. The buffer beam of a Sweet Pea is more than the width of the wheels, so if it does derail, it should theoretically just sit there on the track. My large metal plates are just there as a secondary defence to prevent damage to the drain cocks in the event of a derailment. Both of these metal plates will be painted using etching primer followed by satin black paint. Now for something completely different. The good thing about building steam engines and miniature steam locomotives is the cross-section of skills that you need to master to make it possible. When I bought this badly built engine, only one of the motion brackets was made. I don't know what happened to the second one. I bought a motion bracket casting, but I only need to use one half of it. Using the original one as a pattern, I'm making a mark on the casting using a felt tip pen. I use my small, old, trusty Burgess bandsaw to cut on the line to separate the two halves. I also ran it down the edge because the casting was a bit bigger than it needed to be at this point. Here is an important health and safety warning. When using sanding equipment, always wear a breathing mask, and in the case of grinding metal that has been cast using sand, I also recommend wearing a pair of goggles to protect your eyes from the metal particles and sand residue. I speak from experience. The initial cleanup of the castings to square them off, as well as the finishing of the castings, was done using belt sanders. I used both a 4-inch belt sander and a 1-inch belt sander for different parts of the operation. In this operation, nothing large is going to be flying about, so my glasses give my eyes the normal protection that I require. But from later on yesterday, and in fact still this morning, my eyes are very sore. They feel like they are full of sand. Even though I used an eye wash twice last night, my eyes are still sore this morning, but not as bad as they were last night. Here you can see work in progress, not finished, but getting there. For some reason, I found it quite difficult to compare each of these parts, with one being black and the other one being in gunmetal. Eventually, there will need to be a carbon copy of each other. The first thing I did was to pour some standard thinners into a container on the bench and deposit the black painted motion bracket there within. In no time at all, the cellulose thinners, or lacquer thinner as you call it in the USA, started doing the trick and the paint was coming off. The best recommendation that I can give when removing paint using this method is to place the part in the thinners, stir it up a bit, then all you have to do is leave it for a while sat in the pot, let some time elapse, come back to the job, and by vigorously brushing the part, the paint just falls off, as you can clearly see here. More about machining castings and profiling things in the next episode. That's it for this one. Stay safe, stay healthy. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found it useful. Please take the time to visit my Mainsteam Models website and click on the section of the website that says Video Playlists. And by doing that, you can find other videos that you may like to watch. And by using the playlists, you can actually watch the videos back to back.